So this is really great news for Capcom right now. Resident Evil 2 Remake is selling very, very well. Capcom right now, the folks at Capcom are celebrating big time. Not just some of Capcom, but everyone at Capcom is thrilled because this game is a huge hit. And also it's important to realize that a lot of companies out there aren't doing as well as Capcom. Resident Evil 2 Remake sold 3 million in its first week. Now kind of put that in comparison, we have last year's example of a couple games that didn't do so hot. We had Fallout 76 and also Battlefield 5. And Battlefield 5 actually, after over a month, it only went on to sell 1.9 million copies. And Fallout 76 went on to sell, when it was out around a month, 1.4 million copies. And there's a lot of reasons why those two games didn't do so well. But if you want the 10-second version or story, is that, you might be thinking, Jimmy, why is Capcom doing so well with the Resident Evil 2 remake? And if you want basically the short answer, why it did so well versus Fallout 76 and Battlefield 5, is that Capcom simply listened to gamers and gave them what they're asking for. That's it. And if you think about it, there is a huge, people might be thinking, Jimmy, there's a huge fan base for Resident Evil. That's true, there is, but there's a huge fan base for Battlefield, and there is a huge fan base for the Fallout series. So you've got Resident Evil, Fallout, and Battlefield. And right now, by far, Resident Evil 2 Remake is the monster hit. It is the king of sales when you compare it with those three franchises. And I'm super happy that, Capcom is doing so well. The best-selling, up to this point, the best-selling Resident Evil game to this moment is Resident Evil 5. But in the near future, Resident Evil 2 Remake could, in fact, eclipse the sales of Resident Evil 5. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but it is doing very well with reviewers and gamers alike. This is kind of a really happy moment for me, mainly because when I first got my PlayStation 1, I got two games for it. I got Final Fantasy VII, which is one of my favorite games of all time, and I also got a copy of Resident Evil 2. I bought it. And this was huge for me because, for the longest time I couldn't afford PS1. I was able to actually, one day I rented on the cheap a PS1 and I rented Resident Evil, the first Resident Evil game, and loved it. But when I finally was able to buy a PS1, I got Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 2. And I'll never forget the day when I brought home Resident Evil 2. My parents looked at the game cover. They looked at Resident Evil 2, and my mom's like, Jimmy, that's really scary. Late 90s, of course, there had been zombie movies that had come out in the past, lots of zombie movies. But I feel like today, zombies have gone even it's just totally mainstream with The Walking Dead and World War Z. And it's a lot more, I guess, more accepted. A lot of people are cool with it. But back then, when I brought home the copy of Resident Evil 2, my mom was like, what is this game? But it's great to see, decades later that, there's still a huge fan base. And Capcom, like I said, they listen to fans and they've got a huge hit on their hands. Capcom's happy. They're dancing. They're having a great old time. And gamers are happy too because they got the game they had wanted. So let me know your thoughts on this topic, guys, about how Resident Evil 2 Remake is selling very, very well. And this opens the doors to a lot more possibilities of remakes, and hopefully it'll be done right. But as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you later.